And of course, it is another Wednesday. Each Wednesday, we're here from 8 to 10 p.m. having a show that we think is of some interest to you. You have maintained your contact with us over the years. You have been consistent in listening. You've been consistent in calling in and sharing your views and opinions. I am truly amazed each day that I run into people who tell me that they've listened to this show for years, even though sometimes they have never called in. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful to all of our listeners here at home in beautiful Nevis, our listeners over in St. Kitts, our listeners throughout the Caribbean, our listeners in North America, United States and Canada, of course, our listeners across the pond in the United Kingdom, in Taiwan, and elsewhere. We welcome you to another edition of On the Mark. Tonight we hope to have a discussion, as we always hope to do, of matters that we think are of some interest. We recognize, of course, the difficulty that we're competing against the CPL cricket that's going on tonight as well. It is an occasion like this I'm grateful that we have our diaspora, because I'm hopeful that if they're not watching the cricket through some mechanism, they're listening to On the Mark. So I say good evening to them, and hopefully this is a night when they would call in, because I'm sure that most people in St. Kitts and Nevis are perhaps tuning into the cricket and, of course, either watching it on television or somehow otherwise at the park there in St. Kitts. CPL cricket is here, and our Patriots are battling this evening. I'm told they have to make something like 100 and let me put my glasses on and see, because I have a television here in the studio. They have to make 157, it is? Looks that way. 182. 82. So quite a large score. And at this current moment, we are in some trouble, it appears. We're 28 for 2. So I shan't try to give you commentary. I'm not a cricket commentator, but I certainly enjoy the game, and I certainly wish all of those who are there, I hope they're having a good time, and I wish the Patriots success as always. But at the end of the day, they say it is not who wins or loses, it's how we play the game, and so we certainly look forward to that. Now, I start this evening's show on a sad note. I was very, very sad to hear the sudden passing of Priscilla Williams. Priscilla was someone that we all knew. Some call her Dolly. Beautiful lady from Church Ground. She lived in the United States, and I was very surprised. I got the notification, in fact, on social media that she had passed. And it was truly, truly a sad situation to hear of her passing. I would want to extend to her family our deepest condolences of all of us here on the Mark. It is sometimes a pity that we don't have an opportunity to talk to people before they take that final breath, because we'll never again have that opportunity. But certainly I would want to extend my condolences to her. And I got a lovely note here from my dear friend Bernard Myers in New York, who wants me to extend condolences to her on behalf, he says, of himself and his family in New York. Priscilla, I think, was known by all. She was loved by all. She supported everything to do with Nevis. She was always here. She was at Culturama. She was here for elections. She was always involved. I have never been to a meeting in New York and she wasn't there. And this last occasion when I was there, she was not there. And I knew it was because she was ill. And so we regret deeply her passing. And for those family members who might be listening, the entire Church Ground community, we express our deepest condolences to them. I'm also advised that we have lost Nurse Beverly Elliott Hendrickson. And this is someone who we lost, regrettably, in Toronto. I'm told she started her career in nursing at the Alexander Hospital before migrating to Toronto. And she too has passed to the great beyond. I confess I'm not so sure who she is, but certainly I got a note again from Mr. Bernard Myers asking me to express on behalf of himself and his family their profound sympathies at the loss of Nurse Beverly Elliott Hendrickson. And so we extend our condolences as well to her family and to those who survive her. Whilst I'm in that mode of extending condolences, it is my first occasion that I could, and so let me take the opportunity to extend the condolences to the entire Brownhill family on the loss of who we call Wappy. I think if you're from Brownhill, you'll know. He was Lavington Brown. I never knew he was Lavington Brown until I went to the funeral, because my entire life I've known him simply as Wappy. But Wappy passed away. He had a long struggle with illness. He's the father of 5, but of the 5, my brother, my friend, Astro, King Astro, Oscar Brown, has lost his dad. He was laid to rest just this past Saturday, and I was able to go and attend the funeral with the family and pay my last respects. I want to extend to his lovely wife Glennis, his sons Astro, Devi, Teran, his daughters as well, Cindy and Shanda, my profound condolences at this major loss. I would want them to know that it is a loss for them, certainly. It is not, however, only for them, it is for the whole of Brownhill, indeed for all of Nevis, because Wapi was somebody who was well known. We all knew that he had struggled with his health the last several years, but we certainly knew him, loved him. And Wapi was a straight talker. He was good fun to be around. He and I always had a good to and fro when it came to the politics, because everybody knew Wapi supported NRP. But that didn't matter. Whenever we were around, we had good conversations. He was a good person, a good man. And I think that the tributes that flowed at the funeral evidenced that. I want to say, of course, my condolences to those who survived him, his brothers, sisters, other family members, all of whom gathered here for the funeral. And I really, really feel that this has been a tremendous loss for the village of Brownhill and the people of Brownhill. Brownhill has lost in the last several weeks Lornette Thompson, a gem of a lady. We have lost Lavington Wapi Brown, a gem of a gentleman. It has certainly been a difficult time for Brownhill. And I think it is a time when I went to the wake after the funeral there for Wapi. I think it's referred to as a wake, the get-together, let me use that language, at the hard court in Brownhill, and just saw how many people in Brownhill came out, and the camaraderie, the family, people were hugging each other, greeting each other. So many people came. I want to recognize, for example, my cousin Wakey, who came from St. Croix. You know, all the siblings, Glennis's, the wife's siblings, all of them came. You know, Joan Pemberton sang such a beautiful song at the funeral service. It was just audit, you know, really and truly a touching time when people came, people were there, people participated, and people wanted to show their love, their respect, and certainly their condolences to the family of the late Wapi. And so I would want to join them. I have, of course, expressed my condolences privately. I do so now publicly, to say to my brother Astro and to his siblings, to his mom, to all the survivors of Wapi, that we love Wapi, everybody loved Wapi, and certainly we would want to express our condolences to them and to let them know, and in fact all the families that are bereaved at this time, that we're holding them up in prayer. And as I like to say, the prayers of the multitude will comfort you in your hour of bereavement. Nobody can tell you what it's like for you. It is something that everybody has to deal with for themselves. But some of us, including myself, we have been through this. We've known what it is to lose, in my case, not one, but both of my parents. And so we understand the grieving process, and we understand that it takes time. But as we have often been told, God never gives us more than we can bear. And in the fullness of time and with the benefit of time, the pain never goes away, but it tends to dull. And so we wish, of course, all the families who are bereaved, that they find comfort in the prayers of the many. They find comfort in the well wishes of the many. And I know Brownhill is a tight-knit community, and Brownhill will continue to rally around those of us who find ourselves in difficulty. So I extend, on behalf of us here at On The Mark, my deepest condolences to the families that are affected by tragedy. For those tonight who might be at the hospital, for those who are sick in some way, for those who are down in their spirit, I would want to say to you that pray to God, and let us pray for you as well, and let us together overcome the difficulties that affect us. Ladies and gentlemen, this is On The Mark. I'm your host, Mark Brantley, and if you're tuned in, it must mean that you're listening to the Eastern Caribbean's only powerhouse, VON Radio, the voice of Nevis. Now, to switch gears for a minute, we're going into, of course, our independence celebrations for our 36th anniversary of independence. Last year, the Nevis Island Administration thought of an initiative that we would have a concert, a free concert, and that free concert would be designed to bring our people together. When I became Premier of Nevis, in my maiden speech at the park, I spoke about creating one Nevis. It is not easy because on both sides, CCM and NRP, we have entrenched ideas and entrenched behavior. I have gotten some blows from CCM who say that I have sought to benefit people who support the NRP. I have equally gotten blows from the NRP who say that I am every name in the book. But I am content that I'm seeking to do the best I can to serve all of Nevis. It is my responsibility as the Premier of Nevis to serve the entire island. Not some, but all. To try and create an environment where everybody on this island has an opportunity. And so, I have spoken about one Nevis and an effort to promote that. And one of the things that we can do, something that brings people together, is of course music. And so last year, Nevis was privileged to have on the same stage at the same time two of the biggest bands in reggae music, Third World and Steel Pulse. And they did a wonderful show last year. This year we have decided to do it again. This year the show will take place this Sunday, the 15th of September, commencing at 9 p.m. at the Cultural Village. The show will be free. Let me repeat. The show will be free, F-R-E-E. And we are asking everyone to come out and to support. We were told on the last occasion last year that some people who are religious and Christian, that they may not have been comfortable because of the reggae music that we had brought. And so this year we have sought to say, let us try to do something which is as inclusive as possible, but maintaining our mission of this concert, which is consciousness and upliftment, bringing people together. One Nevis, one love. That is what we're seeking to create and to promote. And so this year we were privileged to contract the services of evangelist Carleen Davis, who, as we know, has been singing religious music now, Christian music, for some time. And she is someone who I think needs no introduction. She has a long and storied history as a singer and performer. And so Carleen Davis will be here with us, with her band, live band, no tracks, on Sunday. Headlining the show, we were successful in obtaining the services of Maxi Priest, one of perhaps reggae's most successful artists. And he too will come with his soothing voice to bring us consciousness as we seek to promote One Nevis. We have added to those two renowned international acts, local singing sensations, Vernell Powell, and of course, Alison Dorr Atherton, both of whom I feel are on the verge of big things, golden voices, local talent. We have added to them the Blackstone family, right out of Keene Garden, and they too will be there to entertain us, and the entire event will be held together and hosted by no other than the great Sugar Bowl out of St. Kitts. And so we feel that we've put together a phenomenal show. We understand that there's cricket on Sunday as well, and we understand some people may want to go to the cricket. The cricket, we're told, starts at 6, and that's why we have pushed the show back to a 9 p.m. start so that everyone can come out. We are especially appealing to the Christian community. We will never achieve the type of Nevis that we wish to achieve without the church and the Christian community on board. Is it that everything we do they are satisfied with or they support? Clearly not. Is it that within the Christian community there's strong support for the NRP, the opposition party in Nevis? I am sure there's some support. But that ought not to prevent us from seeing the vision of what we're trying to do. Because if we were to continue what we're seeing, this tendency to bash each other over everything, to create enemies with everyone, to continue down a path of strife and friction and vitriol, where will it end? Where will it end? Some people feel that that is the way to go. To kill your neighbor because your neighbor doesn't see the same things in the same way as you do. I feel that one of the reasons that this show has had the longevity that it has had, it is because we have clearly taken a position that all shades of public opinion are welcome. Over the years, we've had people who have called in and have had the most and strongest views opposed to my own and opposed to the party that I'm proud to lead, the Concerned Citizens Movement. I have not cut them off. I have engaged with them. Some, after those engagements, have stopped calling after some time. But the bottom line is that this show has sought to provide a platform where all shades of public opinion are not only welcomed, they are encouraged. And so, one Nevis, one love, that is what we're seeking to promote in our beloved island. And our choice of artists for this show will continue to reflect that. We have sought to do something that is conscious, something that is uplifting, something where the lyrics and the music will seek to instill in us all that is good and great about the Nivision spirit. And that is why last year we had bands like Third World and Steel Pulse. That is why this year we're opening our show with evangelist Carleen Davis. And we have, of course, Vernell Powell and Alison Dorr Arthurton. We are closing the show, headlining it with Maxi Priest. And Maxi has not been seen in these parts for some time. And so again, we welcome all from St. Kitts, from Nevis, from the churches, from the various communities, to come out young and old, one and all, and really enjoy this event. What are we asking of you? There's no admission charge. We're asking simply that you wear your national colors. Bring your flag, wear your St. Kitts Nevis shirts, wear your national colors, show your national pride, show that you're proud to be Nivision, you're proud to be Kittitian, show that you're proud of your country, this little country that has done so much, that has contributed so much, whose people have traveled the world and have contributed and have punched well above their weight, well above the circumstances of their small country, the circumstances of their birth, because so many of us were born to nothing, into poverty, and out of poverty we came. And many thought that because we were born into poverty and out of poverty, that as a consequence we would not amount to anything. But here we stand today, little Nevis and little St. Kitts, standing strong, standing tall. I well recall that I had an opportunity some years ago to speak at the United Nations, a podium that is quite famous, a podium where the greats of this world have spoken. And I reflected, even as I addressed the world, that here was a little boy from Hanley's Road, or Henley Park as we would say, a youngster who had grown up with nothing but loving parents and a loving community, who had been helped by so many, and who had now, at this stage, got to a level where he could stand and speak at the United Nations. My path is not a unique path. So I listened to young Devi, for example, Wapi's son, who's a big executive with a major car maker in the United States. And you look at these youngsters and see what they're doing and recognize the heights to which they have achieved and attained. And you reflect on from whence they came. Little boy from Brown Hill. You look around you. Dr. Henry Brown, a little boy from Brown Hill. Magistrate Yasmin Clark, a little girl from Brown Hill. Dr. Patricia Bartlett, vet, a little girl from Brown Hill. Look around, and I'm only focused for the moment on Brown Hill. I would mention Her Honor, Hailita Liebert, but if I said she was from Brown Hill, I know I may get myself in trouble. I will only say she has lived in Brown Hill for a very long time. But you just look around. Joseph Parry, Vance Amry, Simeon Daniel of blessed memory. Look around and you find consistently that our people have achieved incredible heights. They have imbued in them a sense of greatness. And God has blessed us so abundantly with so much talent. And that is why, despite the difficulties sometimes, I'm always hopeful for Nevis. I'm always buoyant about our prospects, even when sometimes the day is dark and the night is even darker. It wasn't easy for me, as the Premier of this island, to have to deal with the closure of the Four Seasons. Only 400 people out of work. It wasn't easy to be told on the Friday before Culturama, weekend before the Culturama activities, that the call center in Brownhill would close after 10 years. Indeed, I reflected that the previous conversation I had with the call center, myself and P.S. Collindore, was about how they can expand the operations. That was the discussion that we were having. But you know what they say? Man plans and God unplans. So little did we know whilst we were having that discussion that they had a different plan and that the head offices in Canada were looking in a different direction. But what have we done? We have not rolled over and played dead. We were proactive in managing both situations. We sought to do what any government that is worth its salt would seek to do. Manage the situation, minimize as much as possible the impact, and seek to continue to give our people hope. And I pledge, I commit that I will continue to do so. I keep telling people that if they're looking for a government that gets everything right, then they must pray, because only God's government can do that. If they're looking for a government made up of human beings just like you, then you must understand that sometimes we will get it right and sometimes we will not, because that is the nature of the human condition. I have always sought to be forthright with our people. I have always sought to be direct with our people. Whatever else they may say about me, they can never say that I have come ever and disassembled or sought to be dishonest with you. And in being honest with you, I believe that it must be important that we admit when things go wrong. But we also strive to do better and also ensure that our people ultimately are the beneficiaries of our decisions. One of the things that has gone wrong recently was the fact that we did not get it perfectly right on the school renovations that we did this summer. I want, however, the public to consider that the schools are closed for some parts of the month of June, July, and August. Schools reopen in early September. So we have perhaps 8 weeks, maybe 10, in terms of a summer vacation. That is really the only and longest period that we have when the schools are not occupied. The Christmas break and the Easter break tend to be about 2 weeks, 3 weeks at the most, I believe, for Easter. And so the summer break is the longest break that we have. We also will want to consider that some of the work that has to be undertaken, the expansion work, the improvement work, that those works take time. And oftentimes, when we seek to do remedial work, take off a roof, for example, change a roof, go into a bathroom to try and fix, when that roof comes off, you realize that perhaps it's not so simple as replacing a roof, but that there are other problems that you did not anticipate. That is the nature of construction. That is the nature, I believe, that anybody who knows and understands these things will say, these things do happen. We did not get it right because, in my view, we did not communicate as effectively with the public as we should have. And I have come and apologize unreservedly. However, we should bear in mind that in getting it wrong in terms of timing, we nevertheless came from a good place. What I mean by that is that what we were seeking to do was to improve the conditions of our schools for the benefit of our teachers and our students. And so, this summer, we did work at the Ines France preschool in St. Thomas's, at the St. Thomas's Primary School, at the VOJN Primary School. We did work at the Gingerland Secondary School, the Charlestown Secondary School, the Ivor Walters Primary School. We did work at the Elizabeth Pemberton Primary School, I believe. We did some minor work at the Charlestown Primary School. All the schools at which we did work were ready to accommodate students at the start of school. Two schools, the Ivor Walters Primary and the Charlestown Secondary, we had additional work to do, and so we did not complete in time. We got some licks for it. And I, as leader of Nevis, I tell my team all the time, sometimes you get licks because it is right that you get licks. The licks that we got, I believe, were largely attributed to a failure to communicate effectively. But the work that was being done was critical work. It was essential work to improve conditions for our teachers and our students. And I want the public to consider that our record has been a record which has been an excellent one insofar as education and taking care of our infrastructure in education is concerned. Schools, by their nature, because of the usage, will deteriorate over time. It therefore means that any government that is serious about education, serious about our teachers and our students and their comfort and well-being, must continually invest in improvements, in renovations, as the case may be. I'm not talking about just public works going and fixing a pipe. I'm not talking about going and painting a wall. I'm talking about when windows need to be replaced, termites have invaded, rats, bats, other rodents have invaded. These are things that happen. And it therefore means bathrooms which are clearly in constant usage because of the large volume of effluent that is naturally generated in a large population of students. We have to go in and we have to do substantial work from time to time. Not just changing light bulbs or fixing a pipe. Substantial work. And that is what we have sought to do over the years. And to my mind, it is demonstrative of how serious a government is by the level of investment that it makes. And so while some people have focused their entire attention on saying that the Ivor Walters School and the Charlestown Secondary School were not totally ready on time for the start of school, and whilst I appreciate the inconvenience that it caused the parents and teachers and students, and I certainly think that we did not communicate as effectively as we should have, I would want you to consider that the expenditure that is being undertaken is designed to ensure that your children who attend these schools have a better environment in which to get their education. That the teachers who teach at these schools have a better environment in which to ply their trade. And who would want their children in an environment where there's termites and rodents? Who would want their children to work in an environment where the roofs are leaking, the toilets don't work, the toilets are inadequate, the space is inadequate? All of this I would want the public to consider are things that we have worked on and that we continue to work on. And as I said, your level of investment is always demonstrative of how serious you are. Now, I have seen an unfortunate situation where some, seeking no doubt political mileage, have sought to seize upon any difficulty at our schools Just today, my attention was drawn to the fact that some pensioner who now says that he is trying to get involved in politics, that pensioner put up something on social media to say that the kitchen at Ivor Walters was closed because they had an infestation of roaches. So naturally, I reached out to the junior minister and the man day today in charge of education, the Honorable Troy Lively. So Troy, what's going on at Ivor Walters? And you can imagine my shock when Troy said, this is fake news. There is no such infestation of roaches. Furthermore, the suggestion that the kitchen is closed is patently false because students had their meals prepared in that kitchen yesterday and today. And it makes you wonder, what is the benefit? What does one get from fabricating a story? The same author recently fabricated a story about bats and went on Google and got a picture of the most vicious looking bat that one could imagine and put that bat on Facebook. When I saw the bat, I made the sign of the cross because I was so afraid. I said, look at this bat. It resembled a vampire. And this was the bat that this gentleman said. We had an infestation of that at Ivor Walters. No less a person than the principal of Ivor Walters had to respond to say that too was fake news. And so again I ask, what is the value? This constant obsession with going around and getting people, no doubt, at the school to send a photo to say that this wall perhaps needs painting or this tile on the floor is missing. What is the purpose? How does it help and who does it help? What political mileage is there to be gained from bashing the school that all of us, including myself, are so proud and pleased to call our alma mater? It's one of the best schools, the finest primary schools on Nevis. It has always been. And it has produced some fine Nevisian sons and daughters. So where's the value in saying to the parents in Cherry Gardens and the parents in Brownhill and those in Victoria Road and Church Ground and Prospect who send their children to Ivor Walters that the kitchen closed because of roaches, infestation, when that is not true? That the kitchen that they say is closed is over there functioning as usual. Who does it benefit? And I am concerned that some misguided people who seem to feel that politics is about getting these things and pushing them out, as much negativity as they can find, putting them on social media, to try to say that there is something so desperately wrong with Nevis. And so I go back to the delays that were experienced at two schools. You don't hear any noise about VOJN. Substantial work was done there to correct some problems they had with sewage and the soakaway system. No noise being made about EPPS, Ines France, St. Thomas's Primary, CPS. All of those schools, Gingerland Secondary, had work being done. Done on time, no difficulties. Of all those schools that I mentioned, two had very slight delays, the Ivor Walters and CSS. And all of a sudden, there's a crisis in Nevis. The sky is falling, and the government, they say, doesn't know what it's doing. And I made a post, perhaps in jest, but nevertheless, there's always some truth to some jokes. And the post that I made on Facebook said that the NRP could not complain or could not be blamed for ever having schools start late, because the NRP did absolutely nothing in relation to repairs at schools over the years that they were there. And it is true, because when we got into office in 2013, the schools were in shambles. We are still now 6 years on trying over the summer period, which is the longest period we have, to repair and upgrade because the schools were in shambles. And if you do not believe me, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are listening and not watching the cricket, if you don't believe me, the NRP was in office from 2007 until 2013. In 2007, they spent $619,528. Well, in fact, they were in office from 2006, forgive me, June, to 2013, January. In 2007, they spent $619,528. In 2008, $154,063. In 2009, $445,059. In 2010, $294,047. In 2011, $111,657. 2012, $67,294. Plus, they built the CPS kitchen in 2012 for $194,386. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years under the Nevis Reformation Party. The numbers that I have are from 2007 to 2012. And for those years, the NRP spent a grand total of $1,886,034. $1.8 million is what the NRP spent in 6 years on our schools. That's it. Now, the CCM took office in January of 2013. Recognizing the conditions of the schools, the CCM went to work. In 2013, we spent $138,866. In 2014, we had nearly quadrupled that to $557,192. 2015, $2,985,785. I would want the public to recognize that in 2015 alone, the CCM spent more money on our schools than the NRP did in 6 years. Let that sink in for a moment. In 2015 alone, when we spent $2,985,785, the CCM in government had spent more money in a single year on our schools than the NRP had spent in 6 years. In 2016, we spent $359,359. In 2017, we spent $4,027,951. In 2018, we spent $1,511,343. And in 2019, we spent $1,898,053. The grand total that the CCM in government has spent over the past 7 years is $11,478,549. Let me say that again. The grand total that the CCM in government has spent on our schools in the past 7 years is $11,478,549. The grand total that the NRP in government spent in 6 years was $1,886,034. So you have a comparison always in life. You had a period of NRP from 2006 to 2013. And the numbers we have suggest that they spent $1.8 million over that period of time on school repairs. Then a new government took over. And that new government has been there for a similar space of time. And that new government in 7 years has spent $11.4 million. 1.8 versus 11.4. So when sometimes I hear the argument of those who seek to lecture the CCM government in terms of commitment to our teachers, commitment to our students, commitment to education, commitment to their welfare and well-being, commitment to ensure that the environment in which they operate is optimized. We only need to look at the numbers to see who has been serious and who has not been serious. And I challenge anyone out there listening, whatever your political sympathies may be, to compare $1.8 million in 6 years to $11.4 million in 7 years. That is the record, and the record speaks for itself. And so you will forgive me when I say that it is difficult sometimes for me as a Premier of Nevis and the leader of this great CCM party to understand why people with an abysmal record continue to seek to foist themselves upon the Nevisian public. Because that record is there. I sometimes marvel that the NRP goes on radio every week. Interestingly, no radio in Nevis. They go to St. Kitts. I don't know if they're campaigning to Kittitians, why they prefer to be there ensconced in Bastia. Of course, the radio station is heard everywhere. But it seems to me a little odd that you'll go to Bastia to make the case to the Nevisian people. But that is what they have done, and that is a matter for them. But here it is, that they go every week. And what I now call them, the Natural neighbors of extreme negativity. Because it's a constant drumbeat of negativity. No ideas for Nevis. No argument as to how you can advance the interests of our people. Just constant barrage of negativity. A substantial portion of it having no resemblance to reality on the ground. Then I sometimes wonder, are they aware that the people who are listening walk the streets of Nevis and work in Nevis and understand the relationship between St. Kitts and Nevis? Are they cognizant of that? Because I, for one, continue to marvel at the boldness of the misspeaks and the misrepresentations that they engage in. They just say anything. One of the things that has always astounded me is this chatter about corruption. And I have always wondered, why would the devil seek to lecture anybody about sin? Corruption? If I were a member of this NRP, that is a word that I would ban. When I go into our executive meeting and our strategy sessions, I would say, none of you mention that word. Because when you say words like that, nepotism, corruption, people looking after themselves, people taking care of themselves, there are so many abundant examples within the NRP. Up and down within that party, we have examples documented. And sometimes I wonder, if the files were not stolen from Land and Housing, how much more documents would we have had? If the treasury was not burnt to the ground, how much more would we have found? But be that as it may, we have found enough to demonstrate unequivocally that the members of the NRP in government were all of self and none of thee. And the facts are there. Which other government have you ever heard of where a minister in that government, who also occupied the position of the Minister of Lands in that government, partnered with the legal advisor to the government and formed a law firm called Uali Attorneys? Follow me carefully. A sitting minister, not that he had a law firm before he got into government, no. He got into government and then formed a law firm with the legal advisor at the time. Together, they call it Uali Attorneys. The beautiful name of Uali Nevis, the Carib name for Nevis, was associated with that law firm. And perhaps one may say, well, it's not a problem that they formed a law firm. But look at what the law firm was used to do. Whilst the good gentleman was Minister of Lands, he was also chairman of the Land and Housing Corporation, the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation, NHLDC. His sidekick, the legal advisor to the government, was a member of the board of NHLDC. And you know what they did? They used Oali attorneys, therefore, to represent people purchasing land from NHLDC. And so I have a stack of transfers in safekeeping, thick so, where you have the good gentleman signing as chairman of the corporation, his sidekick signing as member of the corporation, and then Oali attorneys appearing below as the attorney on the transaction. Think about that. You think that if I was ever in that situation, I would go on any radio to talk about corruption? I would ban that word from our lexicon. I would say, not that word. Never use it in public. Because the examples are so ripe. They are so obvious. They are documented. And so when I speak, I have no fear. People say, oh, if you say certain things, people are going to sue you. Truth, my friends, is always in a defense. And a rock-solid 100% defense to any action in defamation. Truth. And I have the documentation in safekeeping that shows what Oali attorneys did and who Oali attorneys was. I well recall, going to the House. I was then but a nominated member on the opposition benches. And I stood up in the House, and I well remember my speech during that budget debate, because I said that I was not convinced. Let me put it differently. That I was convinced that Joseph Parry, the Honorable Joseph Parry, the leader of Nevis at the time, had no knowledge of his Oali attorneys. When I spoke, I saw the shock on his face. And I said, I do not believe, because despite the difficulties and the differences he and I have had, and we have had many, I have never had reason to suggest that he was corrupt. He did a lot of things I did not agree with. He tried his best to stay in power by any means possible. And he paid the ultimate price for that. But I have never had to say of him that I questioned his bona fides insofar as using his office for his personal benefit was concerned. And when I said what I said in the House and pointed out who this Oali attorneys was, I was able to say, Mr. Premier, in your midst, under your very nose, you have your Minister of Lands, the Honorable, then he was, Elhansville Hector. Your legal advisor, Mr. Patrice Nisbet. And that both of them had coalesced, come together, formed a law firm after they got into government. Call it Oali attorneys. And were using their position as chairman and member of the board of the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation to ply their trade as lawyers as well. And the documentation doesn't lie. The signature is there, Elhansville Hector as chairman, Patrice Nisbet as member, transferring land to the citizenry here, and Oali attorneys charging the fees for those transactions. You have the heart to talk about corruption. to talk about nepotism, to talk about wrongdoing. When I said these things in the House, I saw the shock on Mr. Parry's face. He has never said it to me, but I will be bold enough to say publicly that Mr. Parry did not know that this was happening. And you know what happened? Shortly after, it is quite clear to me that Mr. Parry dealt with the matter, because all the attorneys shut down. You never heard a whisper. That is the legacy of some who now come and pontificate and say to you that they can cast aspersions on others, when that is their legacy. And as I said, if the files at London House were not stolen, and the treasury was not burnt to the ground, we would have even more evidence of the level of skullduggery that some people engaged in the previous government. So the devil can't lecture nobody about sin, when the devil is the author of all sin. You cannot come and speak to anyone, in government, out of government, to the public, about nepotism and corruption and conflict of interest, when in government that was the legacy, the practice of the NRP. That was the nature of things. So when I hear sometimes, I marvel. Why go up on social media to tell our friends and family in New York and the Virgin Islands and St. Martin and Anguilla that one of our schools' kitchen had to be closed because cockroaches have infested that kitchen? We're not a thing or so. As we would say in our local parlance, nothing tall go so. Why? Do you sleep at nights and wake? I wake early in the mornings. You know what I wake early in the mornings to do? I thank God for waking me up. I give praise for seeing another day. And I beg him for wisdom to deal with the challenges that I know each day brings. I ask him to bless my family. I ask him to bless Nevis. I ask him to bless St. Kitts and our country. But it seems to me that some wake early in the morning to plan the next round of mischief. What story can I manufacture today? What can I tell people? What untruth can I come up with? In the language of the great Donald Trump, what fake news can I put out today? And that seems to be the approach and the attitude that we get from some. And I'm saying, who does it benefit? When the kitchen staff in Brownhill at the Ivor Walters Primary hear that their kitchen is closed due to the infestation of cockroaches, when they know that they're there cooking, working, there are no cockroaches, there's no infestation, the children are there, the kitchen has been improved over the summer, what would they think? What would they go home and tell their families? Vote for these guys because we have confidence in them? What would the principal and the teachers think? And therefore, what is the objective? The constant effort to paint the government and the country in a particular light. To achieve what? The leader of the NRP recently went on a rampage against the people of Brownhill. Televised on NTV. I was so proud to see him on NTV. Because I said, despite the criticisms of Mark Brantley and the CCM, it is Mark Brantley who went to court to secure the right of the opposition to go on NTV. Because when the same NRP was in office, that too is part of their legacy. Not one soul from CCM could have, even for a nanosecond, been on NTV. I had to go to court, let it be told and let the record show, in the interests of democracy in this country, to ensure that today they enjoy the right to go on NTV. And so, the gentleman is there, And he's talking and talking. And he sees it best to go on the rampage against the people of Brownhill. Say that we're building walls for them. We're building garages for them. More fake news. We're building matching gates, he says. Walls as high as Fort Knox. And then he went on to chastise what he called squandering of money. Wastage of resources. Well, let me ask you something. We're wasting money on the people of Brownhill? Well, the people of Brownhill are less than any people anywhere else. When the people of Braziers got their walls, anybody complained? When the people down Hanley's Road got their walls, anybody complained? The people in Brick Hill, the people, in fact, on every project that this government has done. But Brownhill people mustn't get what everybody else has been getting. We must knock down Hyacinth Wall there by Bob's shop and not put it back. We must knock down Amos Chapel Wall and not put it back. Magistrate Yasmin Clark must get her wall knocked down by the roadworks and not put back. Over by the Mission Church, we must obliterate the wall they had there for all these years and not put it back. You go up the hill, we must take in land from Sandy and come down and disrupt the boundaries of people coming down and not seek to make them whole. Because that is all we have done in Brownhill. Wherever we have troubled somebody's boundary, taken a piece of their land, knocked down their wall, we have sought to put it back. What, ladies and gentlemen, could be so offensive with that? It has been a common practice for this government. What could be so offensive? But here we are being told by the man who says he would like you to give him another chance, despite the house and land, despite the Oali attorney's situation. Despite all that, he wants another chance. And yet, here he is, going after the people of Brownhill. The people of Brownhill are voters. And you know the irony? When I look at the work that has been done in Brownhill, this government has benefited everybody equally. Everybody in Brownhill know each other. I can start to count the voters in Brownhill and I could tell you who sympathizes with NRP and who sympathizes with CCM. We know each other. And so when this barrage of cussing started, I said to myself, but the gentleman is also cussing NRP supporters in Brownhill because they get walled too. They got their driveway fixed back too. They got their boundaries put back too. And that is what I'm saying. There's no rhyme, no reason, no good sense to a lot of this that is happening. Let me digress for a moment, because I have been sent a note here. I'm trying to work with the people at the Health Promotion Unit, who I had here with me last week, and who are having, of course, the Caribbean Wellness and the Feet in the Street. That is going to be a big event, where, of course, we're asking people to park and walk on a Friday in Charlestown. They had their sneaker day and all that, but they've now sent me something which says the fruit of the week, which is avocado. Saying eat avocado because it is rich in potassium and fiber. It's a good source of vitamin B5 and vitamin K. Health benefits of eating avocado: it lowers your cholesterol, it has anti-inflammatory properties, it regulates blood sugar, and it aids in digestion. So they say avocado, we say pear. That's the fruit of the week. And I hope if the Health Promotion Unit folks are listening, that I have done my duty. They asked me to say this and I have said so. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now 9 o'clock. I'm going to open the phones. I'm not so sure if anybody is listening, but I'm definitely going to open the phones. 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call if you want to be a part of the show in the final hour of this show. We're discussing many things this evening. We understand that we're competing with the cricket, but we're hopeful, especially those who are overseas, will be listening. And we invite your calls at 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Now, as I continue my discourse and discussion, let's go to the phones. Let's take this call. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello? Okay, that caller isn't there. Let's try again. Caller, good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Yes, you're on the mark. Go ahead, please.
Mr. Brantley, everybody probably in Brown Hill was treated right, but not everybody in Hanley's Road.
Caller, you have a radio or something on. There's a terrible feedback. We're not hearing you properly.
I'm saying that you said everybody in Brown Hill was treated right, but not everybody in Hanley's Road. There was one lady in particular who was treated terrible.
And who lady is that? Can you say the name on radio, or you prefer to call me off the air?
You want me to say my name on radio,
No,
or you want me to say it on the air?
No, I'm saying it's up to you. You said one lady was treated terribly. So I'm asking you, would you identify that lady? You want to do it on the air, or you prefer to call me privately?
The lady is Jean Doe.
Well, Jean called in last week, and I think
Yes.
I did say to Jean that we would look at the matter for her.
Okay, thank you. Good evening.
All right. Well, thank you very much. So that issue was canvassed last week, and we will certainly look at that. But if Jean was treated poorly, as Jean is claiming, Jean is an exception, because everybody where we have gone, we've sought to do the right thing and to make people as well off as we met them. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Blessed evening, my beloved brother. How are you and your family, and how the people of Nevis?
We are well, thank you. We are well.
Okay, my beloved brother. Brother, I know the time is drawing near for when your brothers are going to be coming to New York for National Assembly. You're in National Assembly. And I'm looking forward again, beloved brother, because, you know, when I say something, brother, I don't say it one time and leave it there. I'm looking for you brothers. Who's ever going to speak? Whether you and the Prime Minister, whether Sam Condor, whosoever, beloved brother, I'm looking for something to be said about reparations for our people, beloved brother. Not just in St. Kitts Nevis, show the entire African diaspora, starting from the African continent, in the Caribbean, South and Central America, but especially, beloved brother, our people in St. Kitts and Nevis, my beloved brother. I'm looking forward for that, beloved brother, because I know you are going to be saying about Taiwan. I have no problem with that. As long as you brothers say something about reparations, my beloved brother, I'm looking forward, and I'm looking forward to see you too, beloved brother, to that night up on Eastwood Manor. I don't reserve my ticket with brother, the Historian officer, brother Albert Pemberton, beloved. So I'm looking forward, beloved brother. I'll come over, you'll come and say hi and say, let myself known to you, brother, not just hearing me on the radio. So my beloved brother, I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to let that known to the Prime Minister. I told him that on several occasions, but I'm just going to remind him, beloved brother. Brother, in saying that, that's all I have to say for tonight. I'll continue to listen. Pan-Africanism or perish. One love to the entire Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis and to all African people on planet Earth, beloved brother. Continue to listen. One love.
All right, my brother. Thank you very much for that. Let's go back to the phones. It's 5 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Good evening to you.
How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Wonderful. I listened to your press conference, when was it? Last week sometime.
Yes.
Yeah. And, well, the first thing, it was amusing how you took advantage of that media person, the one with the connections to NRP, asking him about their candidate, and then refusing to reveal yours. Okay, I thought that was funny. Anyway, to more serious matters, I was concerned about your approach to the good governance safeguards, right? It seemed at that press conference that you're going down the road of weakening rather than strengthening those safeguards, okay, as was done with the Public Accounts Committee, right? It seemed like you were in favor of, or well, at least you mentioned the fact that some people thought that the public officials would be held accountable. There should be a narrowing of those, okay, under the Freedom of Information regulations. And you
Not
also
freedom of information. I think you're talking about integrity in public life.
or integrity
Yes.
in public, yeah.
Mhm.
And it sounded like you wanted to increase penalties for persons who released unauthorized information. And while discretion and privacy is necessary, shouldn't we be simultaneously making provision for the protection of whistleblowers?
No, caller.
No?
Do not get it confused. This is not a situation about whistleblowers. This increase in penalties is intended for those who are entrusted with the care of your information. Let us remember how the integrity in public life legislation works. I, for example, have already received the request from the Integrity Commission in Nevis for my personal financial information. I have to provide that for me, my wife, my children, etc. The law, as it's designed, says that that information is produced to the Commission, and the Commission has a duty of confidentiality in relation to your information for obvious reasons.
Yes.
So what we are saying is,
Not quite so obvious, but
what
when you decide to become a public person, you have to surrender some privacy.
Well, I understand. I understand.
I think it was Lindsey Graham who actually was out front with this and released. He declared his assets, but that's publicly. But that's another story. Yeah,
Caller, the reality is that you, I, most people understand. That is why banks are not allowed to simply reveal information of their clients, because there are good reasons for people to have some privacy in relation to their financial matters.
Sure.
Good reasons.
But they are private persons.
No,
They're
whether
not
you're
public
private,
persons.
whether you're private or public, there are good reasons to have some privacy.
What I'm saying is, if you're a public person in charge with a lot of power, in charge of the public purse, I don't think that is the same as a private person.
Well, but I agree it's not the same. I'm simply saying that there are good reasons for there to be some privacy. What the law is designed to say is that a very high level commission is created where that information is shared. That commission has power under the legislation to examine that information, to ask questions, and if not satisfied, to take certain steps. So it is for the commission. What the commission does not have power to do is to go out and say to you, well, I know you're calling on the radio station. Here's a copy of Mr. Brantley release. You could jam him about how much money he have or doesn't have, as the case may be. That is what is not allowed. And what we realize in the legislation is that the penalties for those who are required to disclose to the commission are quite high. But the penalties for members of the commission or their staff who would leak that information to people, that those penalties were low in comparison. So what we're trying to do is to balance it and to say that the penalties ought to be similar. So
well,
that
I would have preferred if you would have started out from bringing in persons in the commission who were of the highest integrity. And
we
take care of that.
Caller, we think we have done that. But then people, for example, we have a commissioner appointed at the recommendation of the opposition. We have one appointed at the recommendation of the Premier. We have the chair who's appointed by the Deputy Governor General of her own volition, who has to be a lawyer of 10 years practice or longer. So we hope that we have a commission that is balanced and a commission that is full of integrity. But human nature is what it is.
Okay.
And so the legislation should be designed to ensure that all whom it applies to are in compliance with it, and that we do not have a situation where people feel, I don't want to surrender my information because that information can then be disseminated to the public. So the penalties for that.
Everybody know you're a billionaire, so what?
Well, if you're counting in Guyanese money, I may reach $1 million. But, you know, beyond that, I think that is a difficulty. But that aside, the reality is that we want this legislation to work. And I could tell you that I'm very proud because when we passed this, there was a lot of skepticism. A lot of people say that is just window dressing and all of that. Well, this commission is very serious. They're doing their work. And they have got down to business. They have a fully staffed office, a fully equipped office. And I am very happy to see how things are going thus far. It's a sea change to that which we have been accustomed. But I feel that on balance, it will take us to where we need to go, at least somewhere down the road, to better and more transparent.
I wish I could say the same thing about the one in St. Kitts. But anyway, I was somewhat surprised, right, at your reaction to the Paradise Resort question. I mean, you seem to take exception to what it seemed you regarded as an activist judge. Shouldn't you be saying, like the Prime Minister, the law is the law is the law?
Caller, I fear that if you took that, then you took something away that was neither there. I can't say it wasn't intended because it wasn't there, because I made it very plain that the judge, based on all that I've read, is a very talented, highly educated, and highly accomplished individual.
So why did you go down the road of a judge in St. Kitts? I hope you weren't playing the St. Kitts Nevis card there.
But where was the judge? He wasn't in St. Kitts?
Mr.
So if I were to say to you tonight that your caller in St. Kitts, I am playing some card?
I'm sure the judge had a name, okay?
But I wouldn't name the judge in my press conference.
Don't say some judge down in St. Kitts.
No, I didn't. And caller, you mustn't call in and say those things, because I did not put it like that. I said a judge in St. Kitts came to a particular decision, and we have taken the decision on appeal.
Why couldn't you just say a judge, full stop?
Well, all right. I can't say always what you want me to say. And I don't have the benefit of calling you after the question is asked to ask you what form of words you would approve of. But what I am saying is that I meant no discourtesy, nor would I. I've been a lawyer for a long time, and I know that that is not done.
Okay.
And so what I said, I was
understand.
simply pointing out that judges make judgments all the time. That is why we have two additional layers of court, the Court of Appeal and the Privy Council, to test, because the reporter had read a piece of the judgment and seemed to be treating it as holy writ. And so I had to point out that this wasn't the Bible. It was merely a judgment from a judge.
Well, it just sounded like you were kind of pouting because you didn't get the judgment that you wanted. And, you know, of course, we all know judges make mistakes and that sort of thing, but we should be encouraging more confidence in our judges and the CCJ as opposed to promoting the Privy Council. One thing I found, and really it goes back, the law is the law. If it is bad law, fix it. But be consistent and, you know, support the law. Support the upholding of the law, put it that way. One thing I found interesting, too, was your defense in, I don't know if I'm correct in putting it this way, but in overriding the building regulations it sounded like you sounded like those in the previous administration who helped out projects, the CBI projects like Christoph Harbour, Kittitian Hill, and Hyatt and those places. Okay, they endured all sorts of people claiming that they were selling out to investors and all that garbage. You know, although I found you kind of divisive in your dramatics, that a certain set of people wanted to see new visions riding donkeys and remaining underdeveloped. I don't think there was a need to exaggerate like that.
Paul, I don't know why you see it as an exaggeration. I am speaking to what I see in Nevis, right? I mean, put yourself in the shoes of a government for a moment and consider the government looking for investment, looking for development, looking to have its people employed. Because you know any government is vulnerable to the charge that nothing is happening, the economy is flat, and this kind of charge. So the government naturally is looking for development. And the government recognizes that you must balance development with respect for the environment. There's nobody in my government that is reckless or foolish. We understand that. A gentleman came, and he already had invested significantly, millions of dollars, to bring a property that was closed back to life. He then came and he said he had a strip of land and he wanted to do some Balinese type homes out of wood. They're up on stilts. So they're not permanent structures. And in fact, in other countries, those types of structures are built in the ocean. Well, clearly, we would not allow anything to be built in the ocean here. And so we said this was the position. The gentleman was allowed to go ahead and build. This resort is perhaps now one of the most popular, most luxurious, certainly doing incredibly well, employing nearly 70 people. And they have been open all summer and are performing. A neighbor, and I want you to understand and the public to understand, a neighbor who has held a piece of vacant land covered with bush for the past, I believe, I think it's 14 years, came from abroad, bought this land, ostensibly for some development, has not up to now put one single block on the land. That neighbor decides that this individual ought not to have been allowed to expand the offerings at that resort, to increase their room stock, increase their employment, increase the activity, and argued that the setback had been breached in relation to the villas. Now, I don't know how much you know about Nevis, but if you understand the coastline in Nevis, you will see it ebb and flow over the years.
Like everywhere else, yeah.
And so when you talk about setbacks, I think there has to be a practical type of approach to it. Because I went down on Paradise Beach, I think it was a few weeks ago, and it is the widest stretch of beach now that it has ever been. What used to be perhaps 40 or 50 feet is probably now 150 feet. And I understand fully that the next storm may come, and that 150, 200 feet, which the beach now is in terms of width, that might be reduced to 10 feet or less. It ebbs and it flows. These are not permanent structures. These are wooden structures, raised up on stilts. And that is what this fuss is all about. And so one has to ask the question, which I have been asking, for a government which is seeking development while being sensitive to the environment, has an opportunity for a serious investor who comes and says, I want to do this in order to expand what I'm doing, generate more employment, generate more tourism, generate more economic activity, taximen benefit, restaurants benefit. And that is to be stopped by a neighbor who is doing nothing but providing grazing for donkey on some land.
I understand.
That is the frustration.
I understand.
What I'm trying to say, that is the frustration that I was speaking to.
Yeah,
and I get concerned because when you see these people come and say, I'm going to take the government to court to stop the economic development of Nevis, because they say, oh, an EIA wasn't done properly, or the setback here should have been 50 feet, it's only 45.
Well, that's where I think I was with you until you started about that. If you had done things correctly, properly, right? But if you take whatever the law is, that's why I say,
But I do not agree with you that things have not been done correctly. That is why we have appealed the decision. What I'm moving away from is not...
I thought you said an EIA wasn't done.
No, I'm saying that is the claim, that an EIA wasn't done properly. Okay. Not that it wasn't done, that it wasn't done properly.
Okay.
Because they bring in an expert who say you should have addressed this and you didn't do it. And you should have addressed that and you didn't do it. You know that experts are, whoever you pay, become the expert and they tell you what you want to hear. Right?
Don't say that,
But that is the reality.
Don't say that.
I have been
remember we brought in several experts about the fire in Nevis.
Well, but they will have to come. I am not paying them, so I don't think I fall victim to that.
Okay.
But the reality is that as a lawyer, I could tell you have expert evidence on both sides. Same issue. You get two experts who come and they say something different.
But
the reality is,
I agree with you there. You shouldn't retard development.
The reality, but that is the problem, and I think that I'm speaking to that issue, and I'm going to be speaking to it more, because there's some who come. They fly into Nevis on a private jet. They spend 2 weeks in Nevis. They have a wonderful time, and then they fly back to New York. where in New York they have all of the modernity that life can offer. But they tell you in Nevis, if you try to put up a neon sign, that must go to court because you did not do it properly and that is wrong.
Wait till you put up traffic lights.
Well, if that happens, I will end up in the Privy Council. So
But
when I tell you, when I make the case,
but they have deep pockets.
Listen,
and,
but
the
you see,
law is on this side.
No,
and that's what I'm saying.
I am not agreeing the law is on their side. I am agreeing they have deep pockets, and because they have deep pockets, this one case, for example, that a lady who came here has taken the government to court, seeking to stop a development which is, I think, about a quarter mile away from her. But she says the EIA was not done properly. That is the big argument, as I understand it. She lost the case. The government won the case in the High Court. But she has exercised her right to appeal. So it is not to say the law is on her side. She has deep pockets. And she understands, as anybody else understands, that if you tie up a developer on a development long enough, it loses its economic value. So you drive in Nevis now, in the St. James area, you see about 7 buildings out there now, which have become eyesores. Because instead of them being finished, people inhabiting them, the place landscaped, somebody there managing, some people working, you have a construction site which has been abandoned because the court granted an injunction and said until the matter is finalized, the people can't do anymore. Now, that irks me because every day people are calling on the government to provide employment. Every day people are saying to the government, listen, we need more activity. Children are coming out of school looking for work. And these people, they land and then they take off and they go back to where they're from. You think they can tell de Blasio or whoever the man in New York is, this can't happen or that shouldn't happen?
No, but they can. You see, Mr. Brand, that's the whole point. You know, they can tell the State Department to put pressure on you. I remember you and the Prime Minister was making noise about how they like to change the goalposts on us, right? What I'm saying is, just like how you handle the EU and North Americans with kid gloves or with whatever, you know, softly approach. These people have influence, and maybe you should be doing the same. Okay? I mean, what I'm saying is there's no point, even though I agree with you that they should not be allowed to retire development, right? There is a way of going about this that, you know, less bellicose, less in your face.
Caller, I hear what you're saying, but my job as the Premier of Nevis is to defend the people of Nevis and to defend the right of the government.
You can do it. There are a number of
Listen,
ways you can do it.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate your effort to school me in diplomacy. I understand, and I take that schooling. But what I'm telling you is that the people must appreciate and understand what is going on.
Okay.
Right? So that's
one
important.
final point.
Yes,
there would be no allegations, or certainly less allegations of corruption and nepotism and conflict of interest and cronyism and all of that if the government was open, transparent, and accountable. That has been the bane of this government. Okay, I'm not talking about just the NIA now. I mean, the federal government is woefully guilty of this too. Okay? The thing is, you promise better governance, right? And, you know, I'm waiting to hear the explanation for why it has not been delivered when they come out to campaign again. You know, I mean, 4.5 years, and I've asked you this before. It's you know, it seems like you all don't have an appetite for this thing, okay? And you know, I don't understand why not. It's for your benefit as well.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Caller,
Okay.
we'll have to leave it there.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you very much. It's 25 past the hour, 9 o'clock. And just to say, caller, that you're right, we will come. And you're right, this will be ventilated in the public square. I do not agree with you because I think we are miles away from where we were. I think that you continue to say we're not far enough, and that perhaps is an argument you can make. But you cannot gainsay that we are miles away from where we were in relation to transparency and openness and good governance. Certainly here in Nevis. The opposition now has an office paid for by the government. It has never happened in the history of Nevis. When my epitaph is written, I want them to put that on it. He provided an office for the opposition, first in history. We have a situation where every month I go before the press. I come here on radio, you can talk to me, call and ask your questions, and I try to answer them. We have now the Integrity in Public Life legislation in Nevis, up, running, and functional. And they've said that they give us till 30th of September to put in our information. Otherwise, it's trouble. So it is not correct. You have, let me say this as well, the leader of the opposition now being able to go on radio, on television, publicly owned TV in Nevis. I like when they go because they give me fodder for politics because of the trippiness they like to chat. But nevertheless, they have a right to go, even to talk nonsense. And so, caller, it is unfair, I think, to suggest that nothing has happened in that regard because so much has happened. Can more happen? Absolutely, I agree with you on that. But from where we were to where we now are, from when I could not go on TV when I was in opposition to now where big speeches being made, cussing me, bashing me, I think that you ought to give that some credit. Let's go back to the phones now and take some calls. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Brantley. How are you?
I am well, thank you. Good evening to you.
Good evening. I am calling on behalf of the Health Promotion Unit, and I would like to invite everyone listening and others to our Caribbean Wellness Day walk on Saturday, September 14th, this Saturday. It starts at 6 a.m. and it starts at the bottom of Cotton Ground Road, the entrance to Yasman Grill, and it goes from there on the Island Main Road to Charleston, and it ends at the Villa Grounds where we have a breakfast party. The registration is $5, and that includes T-shirts, the breakfast, and complimentary water along the route. So we're asking everyone to come out and support the cause. We're fighting NCDs. And you can get your T-shirts at the Health Promotion Unit office from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Okay, thank you very much. When is Sneaker Day?
Sneaker Day is on Friday, this coming Friday.
This Friday. Okay. And when is the Feet in the Street?
Feet in the Street is next week, Friday, the 20th of September.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And go eat some avocado.
I will.
Okay.
Okay.
It is just about 26 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock. Just got a notice, and I think this is important. We have the state service this year. It's one of the things that the unity government has introduced, where we alternate the service of independence between St. Kitts and Nevis. I give Unity credit for that because in all the years prior to 2015, the people of Nevis, if they ever wanted to attend a state service, had to travel to St. Kitts. And we have insisted that that be alternated, and that has happened. To God be the glory. That service will be in Nevis this year, and the boat arrangements, it will be on Sunday the 15th, and the boat arrangements are that the ferries will leave the ferry terminal, downtown Bastia, at 2:45 p.m. 2:45 p.m. the ferries will leave Bastia, and the following are the assigned vessels: MV Islander, MV Carib Express, and MV Next Edition. The ferries will leave Nevis 1 hour after the service. So the state service for independence will be in Nevis. It will be on Sunday. The ferries for those coming from St. Kitts leave at 2:45 from the Bastia ferry, MV Islander, MV Carib Express, and MV Next Edition. Those are the ferries according to the notice that I received. Let's go back to the phones now. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Mr. Brantley?
Yes, good evening to you.
Good night, sir. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good. There's a matter that I've been meaning to pick up with you for the longest while, and it keeps slipping me. You are familiar with global entry into the U.S.?
Yes.
Say again?
Yes, I'm familiar with it.
Okay. Here's my concern, because that's the place that I frequent, and I noticed that sometimes, depending on the number of flights that land, it sometimes gets very difficult for you to get through immigration, and sometimes you miss your connection. What I've noticed, though, is that when you try to register, St. Kitts Nevis is not an island that is eligible. Do you know why?
No. I don't know why, and I wasn't aware of that, so it's something that I would need to look into.
Okay, because I'm thinking as Minister of Foreign Affairs, that is something that you need to look into for us in St. Kitts Nevis.
Okay. Thanks for drawing it to my attention, and I certainly will look into it.
Okay, thank you.
In fact, I have a meeting with the United States government in the next few days, so I certainly will raise that. I was not aware, so I'm very grateful that you've drawn it to my attention, because you're correct that global entry system does help to expedite people's traffic through that airport, particularly airports like Miami, which are quite crowded. That is why wherever possible, I fly from Nevis to Puerto Rico, because I find that the crowds there are far less, and the access to the U.S. mainland is quite significant from there. So thank you very much for that. Let's go back to the phones and take some more calls. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Yes, good evening, Animal.
How are you, my dear?
I went to tell. The man was supposed to do a first call and then call back with the second time. You work all the time. I hope you got a good independence and a good hero there. And what happens is thinking, I want to know if they can buy the generator there. Because load shedding, 7 o'clock till 10 o'clock and all them continue night. And they're going to mash up people things them, and when they don't can't pay them. And when you got to go pay the bills them, they want all the money. And me pay with skillet. And you try to have a good evening. Me pay with skillet.
All right, just thank you very much for that. Okay, thank you. Let's stick with the phones. We have another call. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Brantley. How are you doing, sir?
I am well, thank you. How are you?
I am doing pretty good. I have to tell you, first of all, that you sound full of energy tonight. You're firing on 12 cylinders tonight.
That's because I know we're going to be dancing in the street on Friday. I'm sure that's what you're calling to tell us. So go ahead. Yes.
Well, I'm calling for two things. First of all, I just want to invite persons to the Heart of Charlestown on Friday, this coming Friday. The 13th of September, we will be having the closing ceremony and the prize giving for a very, very hugely successful Culturama 45. We started with a bang. We went through the entire festival with a bang, and we will go out with a bigger bang. So we have the prize giving. Sometimes it's good when things are delayed, because it was delayed, and it's going to be even better right there at the Diawagan Plaza in the heart of Charlestown on Friday afternoon from about 4:30. And at the ceremony, we will have, as I said, the prize giving. And apart from having the prize giving, right after the prize giving, we will be having a replay or reenactment, whatever you call it, of our country night from Carifesta 14, which was hosted in Trinidad and Tobago. So most of the acts that we had, and I know that persons in the Federation were following Carifesta 14, and I have to say once again that St. Kitts Nevis took Trinidad and Tobago by storm. We were by far the best. We were by far the most impressive, the most impactful. And we will be doing that country night performance that we did in Trinidad and Tobago on Friday in Charlestown as well. So the folks from St. Kitts who went to Carifesta, they will be coming over on Friday afternoon to join with their counterparts here in Nevis, and we will have that country night performance that we had. So persons who did not see it, of course a lot of persons saw it live online, but you'll be able to see it live right there in the streets of Charlestown on Friday. So we're asking all persons to come out in your numbers. Of course, in particular, we are asking persons who would have won prizes or would have placed in the various competitions to make sure that you're on hand on Friday in Charlestown to collect your prizes. And as I said, we're going to have some fun there in the streets of Charlestown after the prize giving with the Carifesta St. Kitts Nevis Country Night.
Well, tell us a little bit. How is that intended to work? Your colleagues from St. Kitts are going to be over?
They are coming over. They should be leaving St. Kitts on the 4 o'clock boat. The activity on Friday afternoon is supposed to start at 4:30, but we're going to be having the prize giving part of it first. And then after that, we have the St. Kitts Nevis Country Night, which was held in Trinidad. So as I said, after the prize giving, then we will move into the upbeat activity, we will have our contingent that traveled from the Federation. They will be a part of the action there on Friday evening. And then, of course, they can go back down on Friday evening, probably on the 8 o'clock boat. And so we're inviting persons to come out in their numbers on Friday, and it will be another festive afternoon there in the streets of Charlestown.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
I'm not ready to go yet.
Oh, you're not?
That's
forgive
just
me.
one.
Forgive me.
That's just one.
Yes.
Right. Number two, we had a meeting this afternoon concerning Gingerama, and I just want to assure the folks in Gingerland and the whole of Nevis that Gingerama 2019 is truly on, We are working feverishly to ensure that the festival village will be ready on time, and it will be ready on time. And so I want to just announce the dates for Gingerama, which will be Thursday the 28th of November until Sunday the 1st of December. And I want to use this opportunity as well while I'm here to make an appeal to persons, ladies from Gingerland, or whether you're from Gingerland or whether you have ties to Gingerland, if you're interested in being a part of the Miss Gingerama pageant, to kindly inform somebody in the committee. And we also looking for persons from Gingerland or who have ties to Gingerland to be a part of a soca competition, because we are proposing to have a show which features the Miss Gingerama and a soca competition on the same night. That's on the Saturday. What date is the Saturday? But that will be on the weekend, the Saturday. The Saturday, that will be the 30th, I think, of November. And so we are looking for persons who are interested in entering the Miss Gingerama pageant. We already have 5 contestants for the Miss Gingerettes pageant. That's the Sunday night. That's the 1st of December. But on the Saturday night, the 30th of November, we have a joint show, which is a Miss Gingerama and a Soca Monarch competition. And so soca artists from Gingerland, we're asking you to show your interest. You can call Sandra Brown or any other member of the committee and indicate your interest. And persons who are interested in the Miss Gingerama pageant, you are also asked to contact one of the committee members to show your interest. So I want to thank you very much for your time, sir. And of course, we're going to have Juve as a part of the activity. You're going to hear much more about the activity very soon, but I just want to let folks know that you can start gearing up for the festival. The festival is definitely on the 28th of November until the 1st of December.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're most welcome, and thank you very much for the time.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that you brought some excellent information. I'm happy to hear that the Gingerama Village, I know this has been a dream of yours.
Yes.
And that you've been working hard at it. And so I'm happy to hear that they will be open in time for the festival this year. And that, of course, the prize-giving ceremony, which was delayed, regrettably, but is now truly on for Friday, that those who participated in Culturama will be able to collect their prizes. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And I just want to join with you as well in inviting people out to the show on Sunday night at the Cultural Village. I think it will be a wonderful show. And we are hoping that we'll see as many persons from both St. Kitts and Nevis there at that show on Sunday night.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. The venue, I'm told, holds 4,000 people. So I'm hoping that we can put all 4,000 there. And the venue will be in tip-top shape, so we'll certainly look forward to having a bumper crowd there for this free concert. This Sunday at 9 p.m. we have Carleen Davis, we have Maxi Priest, we have young Vinell Powell, and of course Alison Duo Arthurton and Blackstone Family, and it's all hosted by Sugar Bowl, the one and only out of St. Kitts. And so it's a St. Kitts Nevis affair. It's a conscious affair. It's all about one love, one Nevis, bringing people together. And we are hoping that we have a bumper crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to On the Mark. It's 20 minutes to the hour of 10 o'clock. We're taking your calls on 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. We just heard the Honorable Eric Evelyn, of course, speaking about Gingerama, speaking about the new Gingerama venue there in Gingerland, speaking about the prize-giving ceremony for Culturama 45, which everybody acknowledges as one of the greatest Culturamas ever. I was Minister of Culture, so it grieves me to say that, but certainly the Honorable Eric Evelyn did promise that he would eclipse all that every other member and all that every other Minister of Culture has done, and he did so for Culturama 45. So kudos to you, Minister Evelyn, and the team that worked with you. I believe that people are still talking about Culturama 45, an incident-free Culturama for the 7th year in a row. To God be the glory. And a Culturama where people had fun. Now, of course, it is for us to ensure that people get their prize monies, people get paid for their services, as the case may be, and that we can move on with the planning for Culturama 46 as we get ready in short order to celebrate 50 years of Culturama. So we're looking forward and we're planning, but I want to give again the Honorable Eric Evelyn maximum kudos and credit for truly, truly wonderful job for Culturama 45. And so this Friday you're going to get another taste of Carrie Festa and Culture Armor in one. And, you know, he mentioned Carrie Festa and how they went to Trinidad and took it by storm. I have seen and heard, I mean, it was really something to behold. The way that St. Kitts and Nevis really went to Trinidad and performed the masquerades, the calypsonas, you name it, and did a wonderful job. And I thank again Minister Evelyn, because his leadership role at Carrie Festa was there to be seen by all. He was a participant. I saw him dancing with what a lady named the soca artist from Trinidad. Oh Lord, the name slips me for the moment. You know, it's going to come. Peters, Claudette Peters is her name. Patrice Roberts, that's the name I'm looking for. Patrice Roberts. And they said they had some kind of a whining competition or something. I don't even know. But Minister Evelyn had a whale of a time. And I certainly congratulate him and the team that went and really represented us well in Trinidad. And I think that again shows the commitment of government, because we had to finance that exercise. We had to finance people going there and, you know, taking part. And I think that we really did a wonderful job as a small country to get a team there that really had such a tremendous impact. And it tells you the strength of our culture. And I want to certainly congratulate all who participated and made it great. For those, of course, who are interested in the cricket, because I have one eye on the cricket while I continue to talk on the show, and the Patriots look like they're going down in flames. 119 for 9 with just about 3 overs left, and they need something like, I believe, 69 runs or something like that. So I think that is all she wrote, and you could say that is, yesterday I don't know if they're flattered to deceive, but they did so well yesterday. I mean, you beat off 242 runs and you come back today, you can't make 180. But that is the nature of life. Cricket is like life. Some days you're up, some days you're down. That is life. And so we wish the Patriots well as they continue with this effort. I know they have games again on Saturday, Sunday, and Tuesday. So they have some more games to come, and we wish them well. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to On The Mark, and I am your host, Mark Brantley. We're taking a few more calls if you want, if you're interested in calling at 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call if you are interested in calling and being a part of our show. We've been having a good show, I think, tonight. I mentioned the integrity in public life. It is, I think, something that I'm very proud of as a government, that we're able to deliver this, not just to pass legislation, but to operationalize it. And I met with the commissioners just recently, and I know that they're serious people. The commissioner, again, for the public is Mr. Sidney Newton. We have Mr. Alfred Tyrrell, and the commission is chaired by senior lawyer, Mr. Ricardo Keynes. And so that is the current situation, where that commission is charged with taking forward this integrity in public life. It exists in other countries, so it's not new, but it is new to us. And it is the first time and the first government that has brought any such thing into place. And I go back to what I said to the caller earlier. The opposition in Nevis now has access to television owned by the government. Some, particularly those in the States and things who are listening, may say, well, that is nothing to boast about. But recall from whence we came. I, in opposition, could not go on NTV. Could not go. I had to go to court, and the judge ruled in my favor that the opposition should be able to go on television. And that is how now members of the opposition are on TV giving speeches. 1. 2. The opposition in Nevis now has an office paid for by the government. Never happened before in the history of the island of Nevis. It is now a reality. Staff, fully furnished office for the opposition in Nevis. Even where we have no constitutionally appropriate person for leader of the opposition, we have nevertheless extended the courtesy to Mr. Parry. That's 2. 3. We now have integrity in public life legislation, but not just the legislation. We have an integrity in public life commission, which has an office, staff, and is already doing its work. 4. We have passed freedom of information legislation. And although that is not yet operationalized, we have committed to trying to operationalize that by the end of this year. And it is not yet operationalized because there's some work that needs to be done in terms of training people, etc. 5, I have instituted a monthly press conference where each month, as Premier, I come and report, and the members of the press have an opportunity to ask questions and to seek clarification on any number of matters. Again, a first for the island of Nevis. 6, we have agreed that the Nevis Island Assembly must meet every 2 months. And we have stuck to that thus far, despite a slight hiccup in the last few weeks because of travel and holidays and the like. But we intend to be in the House very shortly. These are all good signs that Nevis and the government is moving in the right direction. It is a government I lead, a government that I'm proud of, colleagues that I'm proud of, cabinet colleagues, the Honorable Eric Evelyn, the Honorable Deputy Premier Alexis Jeffers, the Honorable Spencer Brand, the Honorable Youthan Troy Liburd, the Honorable Hazel Brandy Williams, cabinet colleagues that work hard, whose hearts and whose minds are all about the service of the people of Nevis. As I mentioned, the Honorable Spencer Brand, I know the people of Craddock Road have been anxious about their road for some time. That work has been ongoing. We have heard the criticisms and the complaints about dust and all of that. But I was so happy to drive on the first phase of that road and to commit this government to the people of Craddock Road that you will have your entire road done. It has taken some time, to be sure, but look at the result now. The Island Main Road, it is moving rapidly from Cotton Ground over to Cliff Dwellers. And we've already said that if we can find the resources, we will do the road all the way over to Nisbet Plantation. We are still pursuing that. Brown Hill Road, the second phase of that road, I believe, will be ready for paving soon. Ladies and gentlemen, these are all efforts, ongoing, constant, continuous efforts, in the name of and on behalf of the people of Nevis, to make your lives better. I was someplace the other day and a young lady whom I did not know said to me, "Good evening, Mr. Brantley. Good day, Mr. Brantley, I'm sorry. I just want to thank you." And I said, "Thank me? Thank me for what?" And she said, "Oh, I'm one of the workers at Four Seasons who benefited from the government initiative to help us with some back-to-school expenses." And I was really touched. I was really touched because it is when you impact the lives of everyday, ordinary citizens in the country, when your policies are designed to benefit people, when people are at the epicenter of what you do, that people could actually see you and tell you thanks for something. That gives you a feeling in your heart like no other. When somebody could say to you, "I appreciate, because I know that this policy was designed to assist me, and that I got the assistance, and I appreciate it." I mean, ladies and gentlemen, that is what government should be about. Not for those who set up law firms and those who seek to ensure they get as much land and houses as possible. Not for those who, I'm told, got fish pot wire and got somebody in one of the villages to sell the fish pot wire and then went back and asked for the money and the person tell them somebody thieved the money because the person know that the fish pot wire was stolen and so they could not go to the police or demand anything from them. Not for those who presided over an important public institution and when they left and the investigation was done, they find that there were large sums of money unaccounted for. Everybody has a record, you know. And that record is going to be examined in this election. I have always said that them who have cocoa as son, tell them rain a come. And people think that it's a joke. Because currently, you have one horse on the track, which is the NRP. And even when it's only them on the track, they still look slow. But nevertheless, they're cantering around the track, making a whole heap of noise. But when the big blue machine rolls out, when the rims are on, the wheels are on, the brand new coat of paint is on, and we hit the road, and we start to examine not fake news, but facts, because I have a report that I will bring. And I believe there'll be wailing and gnashing of teeth when the public sees that report of one of the loudest voices now in the NRP. And you examine their stewardship of an important organization in this country and how they were weighed in the balance and found wanting. Weighed and found wanting. All of these will be matters that will be ventilated. And you know, if I'm good at anything, I'm good at ventilating matters. They call me the campaigner-in-chief. Well, they will be ventilated. But timing is important. And for now, we remain focused on delivering for the people of Nevis, so that when we come, as we will come, the people of Nevis will say, "Oh, thou good, decent Hebrew boys, let us put you back there, because you have performed with such integrity. You have delivered not walls high like Fort Knox and garages and matching gates to the people of Brownhill, but real development to them. You have built people. You have allowed the truckers and the backhoe operators to make a living in this country. You have created business people in the youth, empowered them. And they would look at you and say, "Oh, you good Hebrew boys. We reward you, because one good term deserves another." So, I am not too fussed about the noise. The noise is as it will be, and some will make noise because, as the old people tell us, there's much wisdom in the old sayings. Empty barrels make the most clatter. Rack-a-tack-a-tack-a-tack-a-tack. When a barrel is full, it doesn't make so much noise. And so they will make noise. But ask them as they're making noise to speak to their own record in public life. Ask them as they're making noise to speak to the solutions that they're advocating for the daily problems of our people. And if they cannot, with respect, speak to their record, defend it, defend the Oali attorneys, and defend the house and land, and land, and land, and land, and house, and house. Defend the $500 taken from the corporation to say that they are housekeeper and they will clean the house themselves when they are the sitting minister and chairman of the corporation. These are things they must defend. And having sought to defend that, they must then tell you what solutions they offer. Not cussing Mark Brandy and talk about my socks. My socks are most lovely. I love socks. Not saying that I on Facebook cooking. Well, I like to cook for my family. And they have not yet been poisoned. Matter of fact, they're quite kind to me and they say that they quite enjoy my cooking. So, our job, ladies and gentlemen, is to do the very best that we can to always seek to offer the people of Nevis a government that is to serve them. And I don't mind too much what people say about me. It really doesn't bother me, because I don't allow other people to define my sense of self. I'm too comfortable in my own skin to allow anybody. So for those out there who like to listen to the show, I want you to know that whatever whispering campaigns and things you're engaged in, it really doesn't bother me. Because when I go home tonight, with the grace of God, I know that I'm going to my house, I'm closing my door, I'm going to go to sleep with my wife, and that I have been able to do all that through the grace of God, not man. So that doesn't bother me. I am here to serve for as long as the people allow me to, and as long as I feel I have the energy to. And then I will exit the stage. Not exit and looking back and vex, but exit the stage. Because when the time comes, all of us must exit the stage. That is life. All of life is a stage. We have our entrance, we play our part, and then we exit. Don't be vexed when you're on the stage and you look and you see people coming through the entrance. And don't be vexed when you go out the exit because you see people still on the stage. All of us have a part to play and a time within which we play that part. And you need not be upset with anybody for that. No need to be upset. You think at age 50, I could run with somebody who's 25 or 30, young, strong, strapping, coming. I said, no. When I see them coming, I move aside. It is their time, just as I have had my time. And that is life. Nothing is wrong with it. It is life. And for those who understand life, we know that as sure as night follows day, we will have our entrance and we will have our exit. And the question is, what do we do on the stage of life as we are there? I am on the stage for the moment because the people of Nevis and the will of Jehovah God has allowed me to be on the stage. But I recognize it is only for a moment. So I am not consumed with vanity. You think that the title of Premier or Foreign Minister that defines me? It does not. Because I know who I am. And I know that I am here to serve for such a period as I'm allowed, and then the next person is going to come. Nothing is wrong with that. That is the nature of life itself. And we all must prepare ourselves for that. And get away from the arrogance. Get away from the attachment to titles and positions, because it don't belong to us, you know. It doesn't belong to us. Some of us, when we're elected, we suddenly become honorable. And we start to feel that there is something that is ours, that somebody has left it in a will for us. No. Our job is to serve, do the best we can, and then move aside and let the other person serve. And that is the cycle of life. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our show. A life of service. That is what we aim to achieve. And I welcome anybody who wants to serve, not themselves but others, to join us in this fight, in this struggle for a better Nevis, a better St. Kitts, a better federation. Let me once again, before I leave, invite one and all to attend the Nevis International Bank and Trust sponsored free concert, Conscious Music, Maxi Priest, Evangelist Carlene Davis, Vinal Powell, Allison, Dore, Arthurton, and of course, Blackstone Family and Sugar Bowl. This Sunday at the Cultural Village, starting at 9 p.m. I want to see everybody there. Wear your national colors, show your national pride. Remember, it's one Nevis, one love. And then, I want to also invite one and all to come out to the Methodist Church in Charlestown for the State Service for Independence. This year, it will happen here in Nevis. The boats leave St. Kitts at 2:45, and we look forward to seeing you there. The banner struck up, it means I have to go. It was a wonderful show. I want to thank all of you who called, all of you who are part of this show, and look forward this Friday to seeing one and all in Charlestown for the prize-giving ceremony. And this Friday, a good time to wear your sneakers, take your photo, post it to Facebook. I know that I'm winning this year, the competition for the best photo. Last year I should have won, but I'm coming again this year. That's our show. Thank you. Good night. God bless you. And remember, If you heard the show tonight, you can listen twice because it airs tomorrow again at 1 p.m. right here on Von Radio, the Eastern Caribbean's only powerhouse.